Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all the listeners and the viewers, whoever you are, wherever you are joining from, depending on the time zone of your world. But welcome to another episode of Sollu Kaburz podcast. The meaning of the name of this podcast is silly chit chat in my own hometown language called Telugu. But today's chat will not be anywhere near to silly because we have a very honorable guest, and he's one of the first guests on my podcast who's from the Defense Forces. It's an absolute thrill and an honor and a joy talking to Colonel Anil Duhoon. Welcome to the podcast, sir. Thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you, Najeeb. Thank you so very much. And my blessings and best wishes to your viewers and to you. May God always be with you. I am Lieutenant Colonel Anil Duhoon, and I served in the Army for 22 years, starting from June 1988 till 30th of April 2010. And after 30th April 2010, I've been in corporate world for some time, sometimes not doing anything, sometimes playing only golf, which I'm doing nowadays. No employment whatsoever, enjoying total freedom and absolute, fundamental rights given by the Constitution. I'm enjoying those nowadays.
Sir, I think the peaceful life that you're having in your post retirement is absolutely earned and well deserved. So, thank you very much for serving our country. Let me begin by thanking you. And of course, today we're joining with you for the very reason that we as civilians see whatever is happening with the Chinese situation out there in the LAC. We have a very basic, very rudimentary view of what's going on out there, and I hope we can delve into it and try to tap into your thoughts and what you think what is going on over there and how do you see it's going in the future. So let me begin straight away and jump into the question, sir. What the heck was China smoking, thinking, drinking, and eating to do this horrible attack on ours? Do you think this is an order that came from Beijing, or it's just a rogue infantry that just lost their mind over there?
Okay, Najeeb. First and foremost, as far as the serving the nation is concerned, I'll start. It is not only the defense forces or the people who are in uniform who are serving the nation. It is everybody who is in this country. He is serving the nation in whatever form he is. So much so that even the labor who is there on the roadside and breaking stones and putting the uh, charcoal or making the concrete mixture, even he is serving the nation. So maybe I may sound a bit loud, but it's a misnomer that the uniformed people are serving the nation in a bigger way or a better way. No, I think everybody is doing his share and he is doing his share well. So much so for the nation serving. Yes, I'm very proud that I've donned the uniform for 22 years. I'm very proud of the fact that I'm the second generation army officer from our family. I'm very proud of that fact. But serving nation, I think each individual, each citizen is doing his bit in whatever form, in whatever ways. And I'm very proud of that fact. Next is the scenario which we are today having at India and China border. Well, is it a surprise? It is not. Did we get surprised in 1962? Yes, we did get surprised in 1962. But in 2000, have we got surprised? No. We basically closed our eyes. Today we have so many satellites there orbiting in space. Today we have business satellites in the space. We have all the infrastructure. We have all the ways to decipher, to pick up telltale signs as to what is happening across the border. So much so that we can say that the person whom we are trying to track, he has moved from where to where. So to say that they sprang a surprise, well, I think that is a misplaced piece of information and we should not accept that. Coming next, I must say it with a lot of conviction that denial is not a diplomacy. Denial is you are denying a fact to convince yourself that probably what you are thinking is right. It may not be in consonance with what is the ground reality. And that is where I think we have gone wrong in this episode. Starting from 4th, 5th of May 2020, everybody knew what is happening across the border. I have left army 10 years back. If I was aware as to what is happening, or anybody who was reading the newspaper or listening to the media and the news and interacting with the people who are in uniform today, well, everybody knew it. Everybody knew it till the time we reached a point where it was a point of no return. And then finally the acceptance came. Unfortunately, it was a graduated response by the government for acceptance also. Somebody said something, the next guy comes on the media, he denies what the earlier guy said and says something new. Then somebody else comes on the media, he denies and he contradicts both the previous people, what they said, and he comes out with a new concept. So it was basically a denial. It was not acceptance. I wish acceptance had come earlier. Had it come earlier, probably we would not have suffered 20 martyrs, and 15th, 16th June 2020 episode probably would not have taken place at all. Because with acceptance comes the clarity. With clarity comes your conviction of issuing orders. And when orders are issued with conviction, the orders are followed with conviction. So I think that is where probably, we missed the bus a bit. But better late than never. At least now the acceptance is there, and now people are reacting, and they have reacted in a very good manner, in a very military manner, I would say. And it is not piecemeal. It is very well calibrated and very well thought out and laid out plan as far as the building up of the forces and reinforcing of the forces along the LAC is concerned.
When we talk about our side, do you think is anyone there to blame for their complacency when it comes to this particular incident? Because you're saying there's been government, there's been intelligence, and then the army suffered because of someone, right? Who will you exactly point your fingers towards? I mean, of course, we'll point fingers towards Chinese because they have their aggression agenda. But is there anyone that you would like to point? If you would have to point inwards, where would you point?
Okay, before we come to pointing finger, Najeeb, look at the overall scenario of last few years. Okay, before we go on that, let me tell you a word about foreign policy.
Right.
What foreign policy we are following today probably is election year to election year foreign policy, which is incorrect. Foreign policy is a long process. It is a thought process. It is a purposeful document. It is
Right.
a purposeful vision. Now, if you see with that as a backdrop, now if you see what China has been doing for last few years, what he did, he got into Pakistan, he has influenced Nepal, he has got into Bangladesh, he has got into Sri Lanka, and it goes up to Somalia.
Right.
Now, somebody should have woken up few years back that if economic investments are happening in these countries, what would it lead to militarily? No foreign policy will work until and unless it is backed by a military power. That is where you sit across the table and you negotiate from a higher plane. Now, imagine a situation where all this while we had no borders with China, with Nepal, and we had such a good, amicable, good, friendly relations with Nepal, and suddenly we find that Nepal is behaving in a very abnormal manner.
Yeah, like never before.
Never heard of.
Right.
Right. Now, why has it happened? Did we not realize about 2.5 years back when there was a change in guard in Nepal? We should have woken up then. But as I said earlier, the foreign policy cannot be, election year to election year. No, it is a long process. It's a thought process. It's a vision of the country.
Right.
And probably somewhere we tweaked that vision, and we, somehow landed up overlooking all these developments which are happening around our country.
Right.
And we landed up ignoring it intentionally or unintentionally. Now, anybody who saw this happening or who would have seen this happening would have woken up to the fact
Right.
that is India getting isolated?
That is a big
And
question,
to my
sir.
mind, yes, it was getting isolated. You can't be having a situation where all your neighbors around you are getting economic investments from a country which has ditched you more than once, from a country which is in a habit of encroaching, from a country which is a bully. We should have woken up. Unfortunately, we woke up late.
Right.
Coming to 15th, 16th of June. Well, if I have to point a finger inwards, it had been a very, very unfortunate incident. I am from infantry. I have led troops. Nowhere ever on the borders do we move without a weapon. Nowhere. I was in Kargil sector. The subsector is known as Batale. We never looked back for orders to open fire. Never. We see movement of an enemy and we open fire. That's it. How did these people land up to a point where they landed up without weapons, or if they had weapons, they could not fire? What was the situation? A soldier would never ever see his leader or his military leader or his CO or his officer being beaten up by anybody. They would kill that guy, they would either kill him or he would either get killed. And that is what happened. A Jawan was without weapon, or he had orders not to open fire. He did not open fire or he did not carry weapon, but he put those enemies down. Yes, we suffered casualties. Unfortunate, they were absolutely unavoidable. I'm sorry, it was absolutely avoidable.
Right.
But this unavoidable thing did the thing, and we like as an army officer, as an ex-infantry officer, I feel so bad for those 20 soldiers.
Right.
And it is not 20 soldiers. Like, look back. Maybe we have 40 orphans. Maybe we have 20 widows. Maybe we have parents who have lost their only child. So it actually hits you hard somewhere deep inside when you see such a thing.
Right.
And rules of engagements were never changed for all these years. Never. How come on 15th, 16th June 2020, the rules of engagements got changed? Even if the orders were that situation should not get escalated. Should not get escalated, does it mean that don't carry your weapons? Or you see your colleague and your comrades being beaten up and you don't fight? Does that mean don't get the situation escalated? It does not. It does. Defense forces would never ever use weapon to scare. It's as simple. They will fire for effect. They will fire to put the enemy down. But moment you say that situation should not get escalated, then why send the defense forces? Yeah, then you send the paramilitary forces. What is wrong with that? You send the local police. You send the local administration people, collector, naib, tehsildar from that area, they'll go. Why are you sending the defense guys if they cannot use the weapon, if they cannot use what they have and what they are trained for? So it was, I think, entirely our mistake. If it was government's order, the government needs to answer. If the order was from defense forces, then the CDS need to answer this as to who gave this order or who gave this impression that they should not fire or they should not carry the weapon. One of them has to, raise his hand and accept the blame on the chin, like a man, like a soldier. Yes, it was a misreading of the situation. So
Sir,
that's my take on it.
right. Do you think we were caught off guard? I mean, you say our Jawans were out there without weapons, and they had weapons which are not necessarily guns, but they were never weapons nevertheless. And do you think this entire incident will reverse our standoff with China? Will the situation get more tensed in the future? Are we building up forces on our border, and they're building up forces on their border? Where do you think this is going?
See, as per yesterday, there is an member of parliament from Arunachal who made a statement that the incursions have taken place in Arunachal Pradesh also.
Right. Oh
and
my
if
God.
you read my tweet, I did mention that in my tweet.
Right.
Now, if the government in power, if its own member of parliament is saying this, God damn it, either accept it or deny it. Do at least one of the two.
Yep.
And what if the member of parliament, what he is saying, if it is correct, then what? Maybe I hope, I pray that what he has mentioned, the honorable member, is wrong. But give it 0.01% that, well, it may be true. Then what? So are we not late reacting or denying another situation? Have we learned our lessons from 5th May 2020 till 15th June 2020? It seems we have still not learned our lessons. And
right.
Denial may not come from the government. Let it come from the military sources. Or acceptance, either. The situation on ground which is prevailing today, it does not suggest that is going to improve in the future. It may deteriorate, but it will not improve. Reasons. If there were chances of improvement, if there were chances of disengagement, if there were chances of retrenchment, well, the permanent structures would not have come.
Right. Exactly.
The heavy vehicles, heavy equipment like tanks and APCs and dozers,
yeah,
they would not have moved in.
Right.
And moved in the sense, it is not one odd which is moving in. They
right.
have moved in hordes.
Right.
They have moved in hundreds.
Yep.
So when they have moved, well, they are not there doing a dust track or driving.
Yep.
They are not there for off-roading.
Right.
They have come there with a business point.
Yep.
And it's a trained military like us. Why should they be wasting their time and energy, effort, equipment in off-roading at a place like Galwan or Fingers area or Depsang or what have you?
Yep.
Why are they making permanent structures? They should have had temporary structures like tents and things like that.
Right.
Why are they building, improving the roads and tracks in that sector, in that area? Why? So we have to accept certain realities which are happened on ground, which have changed the topography of the ground. As like this is not one odd thing. And if they have come to a particular point, and if they have done a like build up based on the concrete structures.
Right.
Well, have they not given out what their intentions are? They have.
The writing is on the wall.
It's there. It's there.
Yeah. Sir, in case, and let's just hope it will never happen. We always hope for peace and no situation of a war to prevail. But in case we get into a situation of a conflict, where do you think our defense forces stand? Of course, our defense forces are more trained, if not equally trained, than the Chinese forces. But what do you think in terms of the numbers, in terms of the technology? Where do we stand? We have more naval aircraft carriers than they have. They have more fighter planes. Their numbers of army are different from ours. What do you think our advantage is? What do you think our disadvantage is? What do you think their advantage and their disadvantage is? How do you see that part of this conflict, sir, in case we get into a conflict? This is entirely a
Najib, see,
hypothetical scenario. A hypothetical scenario, of course.
Najib, I'll put it this way. If it is a confrontation
Right,
within a limited distance,
right,
within a limited area,
right.
which I feel may not happen. Because after all, people sitting across the border are also trained military brains.
Right.
He would not like to limit it in a particular area where he knows that it will be a bloody fight both ways.
Yes.
So, as a military man, he may activate, if not entire 3,488 kilometers, he may activate 2,000 kilometers. And then, of course, we have some worthy friends on our Western Front.
Right.
Right. So, why I'm saying this is, moment these things gets activated,
Right.
your troops, your equipment, your fighting capabilities, they get committed.
Right.
And once they get committed, then you do not have the elbow room to maneuver them from one place to the other.
Right.
Like if it is 1,000 kilometers, it will take time to move them.
Yep.
So if it happens within a limited area of say 100, 150 kilometers, well, I think that is the best case scenario as far as we are concerned.
Right.
And if it goes beyond that, then I think it will not be such a good situation for us militarily, economically, strategically. The entire country at that point in time would need to be together, support the government,
Right.
support the defense forces. Yes, there will be colossal amount of casualties which would happen on both sides of the border. Remember that.
Right.
We will suffer casualties because after all it's a war.
Yep.
But it is not that China will have a cakewalk. No.
Yep.
They will have, if not more, they will have equal amount of casualties. And
Yes.
I'm sure, I can bet, I can guarantee you that if the balloon goes up, then more than India, it will be the China who will regret that they let it happen.
Exactly.
Because those many capabilities today, defense forces in Air Force and Navy and with the latest equipments and missile system, those capabilities we do possess.
Yes.
We
And
do possess.
yes, and one advantage that I really hear all around the world is that Indian Army is uniquely trained to fight at higher altitude. You know, even the forces from America and Britain come over here to train with the Indians to fight at higher altitude. Plus, Chinese army and the defense forces have never been tested. As in, Indians have been at war, and we have the experience. We have the think tank that has already seen conflicts, but China has barely scratched the surface in terms of conflict experience. Right? Many of the generals have gone decades together without any challenge thrown at their forces in a way, isn't it, sir? What is your comment on that?
See, Najeeb, you must have heard it many a times that
Right.
Indian troops are the best troops in the world today.
Right.
And believe you me, it is a fact.
Yes.
They are amazing. Amazing is the word.
Right.
And as far as trained troops are concerned, China stands no chance in front of us as far as the combat training, oblique combat experience of at Jawan level is concerned.
Yes.
See, starting from, say, somewhere around 87, 88, we have been there chasing everybody from Siachen till Srinagar Valley.
Yep.
And it is not that it's a campaign season or it is not a campaign season. It is round the clock 24/7.
Right.
So where would you get better trained soldiers than Indian Army?
Yep.
They are very well trained, they are very well motivated, and they have a damn good DNA system to lay down the enemy.
Yes.
Trust me on that. they are the best. And based on their capabilities, any infantry officer today or any officer of the defense forces would say that we are good enough to give a bloody nose to China
Yep.
if the balloon goes up. There are no doubts about it.
Absolutely. Sir, but I always had this theory that two nuclear countries will never go at war on a larger scale. So my guess is that this will not evolve into a larger conflict. There will be skirmishes, there will be tension, of course, but don't you think the global community will come into picture and simmer down the tensions that we have on both sides? And do you see it in this optimistic angle in any way?
See, what you are saying, Najeeb, would be absolutely correct
Right.
if the other party is not a rogue state. Now,
Absolutely.
today, if North Korea promises something, will South Korea accept it on face value?
Nope.
No way. Will the world accept it? No.
Right.
If China has been repeatedly doing it, China has become a bully in the entire Southeast Asia.
Yes.
Will anybody accept it? No.
Nope.
The parts of the world, Europe, you take US, will they trust? No.
Right.
So, yes, nuclear power being means it's a deterrent.
Right.
But to achieve aim, if their aim is to solidify their gains, like gains when I say means the encroachment, the intrusions, like what they did with Tibet,
Yes.
they can go to whatever limits. But
Right.
let me tell you, if they strike first, then India does possess the second strike.
Yes. And it's legal. Yep.
And it's real. And
Right.
it's real.
Yep.
So, as I said earlier, if the balloon goes up, they may start it, but it would be we who would finish it.
Right.
And we are capable.
Right.
We are capable.
Right. Sir, let us go back a little bit about your service and your time with the defense. You said you have a generational history, and you said that your ancestors also have served in the Indian Army. So your family has seen quite a bit of action, if I'm not wrong to assume.
Yeah, you are right.
So, because my grandfather was an engineer somewhere at McMahon's line, which is the border of the Arunachal Pradesh, in 1962 as an engineer. And where did your family serve, sir? In what fronts, and what can you talk about that in a brief, if you could?
Okay, I'll give you my history.
Let's begin with yours.
I'll not go to my dad's serving period.
Right.
Started like when I got commissioned, it was a peace station. I was posted. My unit was posted there, and after that, there's a place called Chamjauria. Cham is in Pakistan, and Jauria is with India.
Right.
So we were deployed for 3.5 years there. After that, moved to a peace station, and after the peace station, moved to Uri.
Right.
The same place where we had the Fedayeen attack on military camp, and then
yes, exactly.
So same area. Moved back to a peace location, and then again moved to J&K. That has been actually my luck or my whatever profile.
Right.
And was there for quite a long time.
Right.
In Batalik subsector, that is in falls under Kabul.
Right.
After that, again moved out, and then again got posted back to Akhnoor, which is like between Jammu and the border.
Right.
So it's been there, like you can say that totally exposed to J&K, so much so that if I had applied, probably I would have got a citizenship also of J&K. I served there so much.
Right. Uh, Did you did
And I
you
forgot to tell you, like, it's not only so, but while when I was a younger lieutenant,
right?
that time I took a long range patrol from a place which is in Nosha, like in Rajouri and Punch. I don't know if you have heard about it.
Poonch, yeah.
From Punch, yeah. So started my long range patrol from Punch and walked up to Pir Panjal Pass and then walked down to South Kashmir, place called Shopi.
You're
So
talking about
it
how many
was.
kilometers there, sir?
It is not kilometers actually. Like that would be a wrong
Right.
thing to say. It was in peak of winters in the sense that it started on in the month of January,
Right.
and it was a 10 days patrol.
Right.
And believe you me, in between, because of the mountains, we got screened out and we were out of communications. And like either like whichever side you look, it is all snow. Like
Yep.
you can't even identify those peaks with your map which you have. But whatever military knowledge we at that time we had, like, and we moved on those lines, and yes, we did finish our patrol in proper time frame, and the
Right.
objectives which were given to the patrol were all fulfilled.
Right.
And Shopia, that is South Kashmir, which is hotbed for terrorists today,
Yep.
is the place where our patrol finally finished the patrol program.
Right.
So it has been quite a ride.
Right. Right. Did you serve in the Kargil action, sir? Did you or you had friends over there?
I had a lot of friends who were there during the Kargil conflict. We
Right.
moved in this Batalik subsector after the conflict.
Ah,
Like,
okay. Right. So, what special training does our forces get to fight in such altitudes and winter cold? I think of Siachen soldiers, right? They must be coming from some heaven, if I'm not wrong, because it takes something else to fight at places like there, which are impossible to inhabit for any human being in the first place.
well, it's the motivation,
Right.
it's the love for your country, it is the respect for the citizens.
Right.
Like I'll tell you, like even if a local guy falls sick, or if he falls in the river or a nala, and moment the nearest military post comes to know about it, 10 people would run there to save him. You know, it is that level of motivation, it is that level of love for the citizens, it is that kind of a respect for the country, the where you are born, brought up, and everything.
Right.
Yes, the new soldiers, the raw soldiers, they take time, to get
Yeah.
into that mindset.
Right.
But slowly and gradually, they all come in that mindset because everybody else around him is doing the same thing.
Right.
So it's a process, it's a small process, but they take some time. Yes, they take some. Like the first time when a new soldier hears a gunshot, like his reaction can make anybody laugh, on the post.
Yeah.
Because he reacts in absolutely raw manner.
Right.
He doesn't know how to react. In fact, you can say that he goes brain dead or brain goes numb. The body refuses to react. He goes still. But
Right.
slowly and gradually he gets, so to say, better inoculated.
Right.
And after that, he starts enjoying so much so that the whistling sound of the bullet which goes past by the individual, he can also judge Kineni. It's gone from a distance. It is not close by. But yes, he takes time. Otherwise, troops, they enjoy those adverse conditions very much. And believe you me, those conditions are the best conditions for soldiers, for officers, for the unit, for the subunits to be in. That is one which makes that camaraderie thing work.
Yep.
It is those conditions which makes you believe, feel, well,
Right.
these mind.
Right.
And it is a very good thing. It's a wonderful thing. And that is why we are so proud of our soldiers. We are so proud of our units. And we say with Danke ki chot pe that we are the best.
Right.
No doubts.
Yep. Sir, we do have all these wonderful physical and military capabilities. What do soldiers do to keep their mental health straight? Because it is the most toughest job in the world, and you lose your friends, you lose your comrades. Do you have psychologists on field, or how do you cope the mental health challenges when you're out there in places like that and the job that you do, sir?
Najeeb, the isolation on a post or a difficult area does get on.
Right.
Now, whosoever is the post commander or the company commander or the battalion commander, now you have to keep your troops busy, because isolation would affect you when you are mentally idle.
Right.
And trust me, it's a fact.
Yeah.
An idle mind will only start thinking. And unfortunately, at those altitudes, at those locations, when the mind thinks, it does not think positive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like if my mind wavers what my children must be doing, it will waver. I hope they are studying. I hope they are not troubling their mother.
Right.
I hope they don't, sit with people who have bad habits. So all kind of funny and negative things would come in.
Right.
So on the post, what generally is the thing is, involve them in the ammunition cleaning, explain the ammunition, how an ammunition is made, the weapon cleaning, the weapon handling tests, which is a big fun.
Right.
And a big fun in the sense that whosoever will be the slowest would boil water for everybody today. You know, those small little things.
Yeah.
If there is bright sunshine on that day, well, put the ammunition out, let it get some sun so that the moisture gets taken care of, rations, but do whatever. Don't let him sit idle to think. And once you start interacting with them, talking with them, you talk with them for about 10 minutes about his family in front of everybody.
Right.
Now, since you have asked him a question about his wife, children, parents, brothers, sisters, initially he'll have a hitch in opening up. But since you are an officer, he has to answer you, he will answer you. So slowly and gradually, he overcomes that inhibition of opening up about his family to his colleagues, to his comrades. And once that barrier is broken by that individual within himself, then he becomes very open. Then if he has a problem, he will talk, he will discuss with his colleagues. And as a leader, as a military leader, you have achieved your aim. You have helped that individual overcome his inhibitions.
Right.
And it is personality driven. There are no books on it.
I think the point you're getting to is the camaraderie itself will take care of the mental health of the soldiers in a way.
It would, provided the military leader who is there, whosoever is the senior most, he identifies that issue.
Right.
He knows that there are out of 10 Jawans, there are 2 new Jawans and how they have to be handled. So he has to be a matured head.
Right.
So many times it has happened that a post commander may not be the person who may be interested in that responsibility.
Right.
But because of his level of maturity and understanding and men management and men handling, he does get entrusted with that responsibility that, okay, you will take care of these 7 boys, these 10 boys.
Right. Right. Sir, you've worked in those places for 20-25 years. Did you ever interact with the commanders from the other side? And do you really think the forces from the other side are really training the terrorists and supplying these terrorists and JNK with all these training and the weapons, or is it the ISI or?
Where do you think these terrorists are coming from?
From the other side, obviously.
So
So you
these terrorists are coming from the other side.
right.
Like how do you find an Afghani being killed in Valley?
Yeah.
How has he landed up there? Has he come
Right.
flying?
Right.
So it's something
Yeah.
ongoing process which
Right.
our friends they keep doing, keep
Yeah.
involving, keep
Right.
indulging themselves in.
Right. Sir, we have this front on the east that China is trying to threaten, and there is another front on the west which is always a threat. So, do you think we will be all right if both fronts are active in a way, if you know what I mean?
Well, we can handle if both fronts are active, but yes, I would say that it will not be the most comfortable position,
Right.
the most comfortable situation. No,
Right.
the advantages that on our western front, the fronts are predictable.
Yeah.
They are predictable.
Right.
Like you can make out the next 10 days what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
And pardon my saying so, but they take lot of pride in announcing. Like a true Pathan, he will announce
Right.
first. So with them, there are no surprises.
Right.
And on the other side, on the eastern front, we have a very slimy enemy.
Yeah.
Absolutely unpredictable, absolutely untrustworthy.
Right.
So those situations at both the fronts are different. But yes, we are capable of handling both at the same time, but not the best of situations today.
Right. Right. Sir, if you were made the defense minister overnight and immediately given all the powers, what would you do, sir? What would you expect? Or if you were in the army, what would you expect the government to do that will put you in an advantageous situation? Is that thing happening right now? Or do you think our government is going the other way, the way that is not really advantageous for us? Where do you think our civilian government is going right now, sir? We know that our armed forces are going in the right direction, but
Najeeb, you have asked me one of my favorite questions, one of my favorite points on which I keep discussing with my course-mates and batchmates.
right.
The first thing which I will do if I am defense minister, I will change the bloody name of defense ministry. It will no longer be defense ministry. It will be
Right.
Ministry of War.
Okay. Fair
That will be
enough.
the first thing I will do.
Right. That's fair enough.
It will be Ministry of War.
Right.
And yes, when it is Ministry of War, then we would be proactive. We would not be reactive, what we are today.
Yes.
We don't need your country's land, but think many a times before coming towards my country's land.
Exactly.
Negotiations would happen only after the bullets have exchanged.
Okay.
Not before that.
Right.
Because it is you who insulted the sovereignty of a country. Yes,
Right.
I'm sure like anybody from a political party or a bureaucrat may not think the way I think, maybe because I'm from the armed forces, so I think that way.
Right.
But with the prevailing situations on our borders, I think what I'm thinking or the way I think is
Right.
not the wrong way.
Right.
Like, how can a country with whom we had such wonderful relations all these years suddenly say, okay, Lipu Lake is mine. Okay, this is a new map of my country.
Exactly.
If we start walking, we will just walk over Nepal.
Exactly.
What are you talking? What are you talking? There are people in Nepal who are retired people from the uniformed forces of India, and they are still getting pension from the government of India.
Right.
And you feel like changing the map without even taking your neighbors in confidence? Who would accept? Who would tolerate? Like a country who knows that thousands and thousands of Nepali guys are there in India working and earning their livelihood. and suddenly they rake up something and converts it into a controversy, and people are sitting like thinking what to do next.
Taken the country
No,
for the granted.
that's
Yep.
not the way. That's not the way I think. It
Right.
would be Ministry for Wars, and it would be a proactive ministry and not a reactive ministry.
Right. Sir, the reason why I brought this question up is because I was looking at your Twitter and you said you would like to enter politics one day. I don't know if you know it, but I don't know when. But what are your thoughts on that, sir? What would you like to achieve through politics that you perhaps could not really focus on while you were in the forces?
No, see, while being in the forces, your charter is totally different.
Right.
Your charter is totally different. You are limited to your troops, you are limited to your units, you are limited to your extended family. That is, the troops family also belongs to you, like
Yep.
you being an officer of the unit.
Yeah.
Beyond that, you have no role, no charter.
Right.
Now, if somebody wants to actually work towards the common man, I think the best way is to work through a political party.
Right.
I may accept, I may not accept the ideologies. I may accept, I may not accept few individuals. I may accept, I may not accept certain things. But still, that is the best way to work towards a common man. And that is why my bio speaks that I want to join a political party one day. Which political party? Well, mind has not been made up as yet. Nobody has approached me, and I would not approach anybody.
Right.
So it's a stalemate as of now.
Right. Someone would have approached you, maybe?
No, not as yet.
Okay. Fair enough. Sir, I think it has been a great chat and a great insight to how a respected and an esteemed Fauji thinks in an entirely different way from what a civilian thinks towards the situation that we see at the borders, which is a normality for you, but not a normality for us. And that is exactly why we give special thanks to the armed forces. Yes, every countryman is serving the country in his own way, but the armed forces serve the country by putting their life on the line. And that deserves a special thanks, and that deserves a special thanks for you to join this podcast and give your wonderful thoughts, sir. Thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you so much, Najeeb, and I wish you all the best and my best wishes to your family and to your viewers. Please convey my Jai Hind to all of them. Thank you so much.